Hi all, in this video we'll be discussing about the topic sales forecasting. So basically a company does sales forecasting to predict its demands. So how much products will I be selling in a particular period of time? So what will be the future of my company? So all these questions will be answered using the term sales forecasting. And it is also the underlying business decision for various departments inside a particular company. For instance, let us take an example of an accounting department. In an accounting department, the forecasting results will be actually used to find the profit estimates, which means like how much profit am I going to incur in this particular period of time. And for instance, let us take marketing. So the forecasting results will be useful for predicting what will be the price, to keep what the price of the particular product, and how much do I have to spend on the promotions and the strategies that I have to use. So in this way, in each and every departments inside a particular company, they would definitely have a basis of forecasting. So this is how actually the forecasting works. And before we get into the types of forecasting, let us first understand the forecasting based on the time horizons. So it is actually divided into three types. The first one is short range forecast. This short range forecasts are usually done for medium scale industries, small industries, and also large industries. They do it on a daily basis, weekly basis, so that to estimate exactly what the company is doing and what do we do to overcome the short term goals of the company. For instance, how much do I have to purchase in the next 1 week period, or how much should I schedule, or what is the workforce that is required for a particular job and all that. That is done using the short range forecasting. In terms of medium range forecasting, it is usually for a quarter to almost for 3 years. Why? Because usually companies forecast for a 3 months period. We call it as a we call it as a quarter. Okay. What decisions will be made in this? Usually it is done for a production planning. How much should I plan for this 3 months period, and also how much material should I get, whatever that I'm getting in bulk. No, companies usually get a lot of items in bulk. So when I order in bulk, whenever the order quantity is to be decided, this medium range forecasting helps the company in a many way. And also during term budgets, during annual budgets, these medium range forecasting results are accumulated and used in the budgeting also. The third one is very important for a company, which is a long term forecasting, where it deals with the vision of the company, which means it is usually done for a period more than 3 years, where the company wants to see itself after 3 years. So these decisions are majorly like addition of plant, or addition of new equipment, or getting into a new field, for instance. So all this depends upon the long range forecasting results. Okay. So this is the forecasting based on the time horizons. And also in a product life cycle, forecasting is done differently at different stages. For instance, if you take introduction phase, what basically you forecast is the product design, the quality, the production costs, and all that you estimate. But in the four stages, introduction, growth, maturity, and decline, the most critical stage of forecasting is actually the growth phase. Why? Because a particular product from introduction goes to a growth phase, where you start increasing the market share, market size of the product, and you don't know at what point this product would go to maturity stage or decline stage even. So that is the most critical point in forecasting. That is a place where a lot of companies fail, and few companies they also succeed using the forecasting techniques. So now when we go to the types of forecasting, the first one, qualitative method. What is a qualitative method? Basically, it is not based on the numbers. It is based on the mere experience and the intuitions. So what kind of products do we use intuitions and experience? When a product doesn't have a past data or past record, when we don't have numbers, basically we go with a qualitative technique. So that is what we've given: new products, and if it is a new technology and there is no data available, then we go with the qualitative method. So you have different types of qualitative methods. The first one is jury of executive opinion. There will be certain experts in any field. to whom you can go and ask, telling your product descriptions. You can ask what will be my sales in a particular period of time, so that they would give some details about it. That becomes jury of executive opinion. And Delphi technique is also very similar to the jury of executive opinion, but the difference what it is Delphi method is done quite systematic way, in a quite systematic way. What do we mean is that in jury of executive opinion, anybody can be the experts, but in Delphi, there is a particular criteria in which the experts are considered. And then the querying system, and then asking suggestions to them, everything is done in a systematic way. The third most important thing is that the Salesforce opinion, which is you go to the ground workers, which is the Salesforce. You ask them, you tell them the product of yours, and then ask them what will be the forecast. What could I forecast for this particular product? Because they are in the field and they know, have much knowledge about the market. And the fourth one is directly getting to the consumer itself. The products, most of the products that comes under FMCG or C2C businesses goes with customer market survey, because you need to understand the mindset of the customer before getting into it. So these are the types of qualitative methods. So when it comes to quantitative methods, as discussed earlier, the quantitative methods are done when you have ample data with you, which means you have historical data that is available to you, so that you use mathematical techniques to calculate the forecast. So you have 5 different types of forecasting. We'll be discussing all this in upcoming slides, but then the basic difference between the time series models and associative model, let us first discuss that. The time series model, what is a time series model exactly is, all the approaches on this time series model, for instance, let us take moving average or exponential smoothing, all this depends upon the time as an important factor while considering a forecast. But if you take an associative model, in the associative model, it is estimated that there is a relationship between two items. Whatever items we consider, there is a relationship between those two items, and we forecast on that. That method is called as linear regression. So first is the naive approach. Naive approach is a pretty simple approach that is followed by a kirana store or a normal what do you call as an small scale industries and all that. So this method is like you just estimate your sales based on your wish, which means if January sales is 68 and February sales will be also 68. This is a very simple method, and of course this is the most lamest way of forecasting, because this has a lots of errors in it. So we slightly go to a next method, which involves a formula and a certain procedure. So this is called as a moving average method. The moving average method could be explained with an example of this. For instance, let us take, we have the sales data for January, February and March, and you are asked to calculate the sales for April. You are asked to estimate the sales for April. What do you do in this method is that you take first January, February, March. So all 3 months sales, and then you take an average out of that and you calculate a value, which is here is 11 2 by 3. Now you take this as the forecasted sales for the month of April. But you could see there is a difference. Of course, there will be a difference, and that is called as a forecasting error. Okay, so in this way you calculate for all the other months and then you plot it on a graph. Now you could see the actual sales value, it is going like this, and you have a moving average forecast that is now forecasted in this way. This is exactly the difference in value. Okay, this is the first method. So after finding out the forecasting using the moving average method, some people, they came up with some other method that is like very similar to moving average method, but then it is somewhat accurate than the method. So how do they do it? What they basically did with this method is that they started to give more importance to the months which are nearby. For instance, if I'm going to calculate the sales for April, I would consider what happened in March as more important, and then February, and least to January, and not considering the other months. Why? Because, for instance, let's take what is happening in 2020 April itself. Now we have this corona outbreak. Whatever happened in the month of March will be more similar to what is going to happen in April, not what happened in January. Definitely, because January, well, we didn't have any lockdowns, but at March we had. So in this way we calculate. So how is the formula? It is that the March value is having more weightage, which is multiplied by 3. The next month is by 2. The next month is 1. So you calculate all this and you divide it by 6. Why do we divide it by 6? Because you have a weighted constant here. So you get a value. That value is now considered as a forecasted value for April. So now you could see in the last method you had 11 2 by 3. That was the results. But now it is 12 1 by 6, which means the error is minimized to certain extents, which could be seen in this graph. So you could see here, right? The error is now, so now this is the value, which is the forecasted value, weighted moving average forecasted value. This is the normal moving average value. So you could see there is a slighter difference. Okay, that is what is the advantage using the moving average method, the weighted moving average method. The next one is exponential smoothing method. This method is basically done for a vehicle industry, for an industry where the goods are more costlier and more involves a lot of production value and all that. So those industries use this exponential smoothing method. So in this method, so this is the formula. Let us take an example and then you would find out. So this is the predicted demand, which is 142, and this is the actual demand, and this is the smoothing cost. Let's see what this is. See, the major difference between the moving average methods and this is that we include the actual demand also here. See, we include the value of actual demand also. We consider the actual demand also. Like the previous error, no, whatever we made, we consider that while calculating the next forecasting. Okay. The smoothing constant, what this is it actually varies between 0.1 and 0.5. It depends upon the company, it depends upon the value that they're going to predict and all that. So here they have taken as 0.20, and now t minus 1 indicates that the demand for the previous month. Now we are going to calculate for t, which is the present month. So this is the formula. You calculate, you take the previous predicted demand plus the smoothing constant into the difference between the actual and the predicted value. What is the error that we have made? We are including that so that you calculate the new forecast. So this is the exponential smoothing method of calculating forecast. The final method is associative forecasting. The associative forecasting is actually a regression equation. So whatever you learned in the regression equation, whatever you know about the regression equation, you just simply apply that equation to calculate a sales forecasting. As said earlier, this method is not based on the time horizons. Let us take an example and see. See here, the sales value is given. Okay, the advertisements. What this implies is I have spent 4 million. Let's assume this is million. 4 million. And what will be my sales? I have spent 2 million on advertisements, and what will be my sales? So this is how it goes. So you need to calculate initially. So because the equation says it is y is equal to a plus bx, you need to calculate the value of a and b definitely. So we calculated using a and b using the formula, these two formulas. It's a pretty simple regression equation. So you calculate the values of a and b. Now you calculate the values of a and b using these formulas. You can just look into take a moment to look into the formulas. And now you have calculated the y is equal to this much, and now you replace the y with sales and add expenses. For instance, okay, for the next month you're going to spend 6 billion. Okay, 6 billion on the advertisements. So now what will be my sales? We can drop this 6 million in the formula and calculate the sales value. So this method holds good only if your value, or only if your for equation is a regression line. This is an associative line, you see. So only then this method holds good. If there is a various fluctuations, if the sales is like this fluctuating more, then this method might not be proper. So this is how forecasting is done, and for different types of method and for different products in different industry, this is how forecasting is done. Thank you for listening. Please do, if you like the video, please like it, subscribe it, and also share it with your friends.